Yeah, you're right. Charging is probably the right word considering how, the past week and a half has gone with Walter Nolan and Chris Marshall and Le'Veon Moss. They've moved up to number 3 in the rankings now.
Number 3 in the SEC, number 3 nationally. That's life in the SEC. So, yeah, let's run through the recent commits. You can pick them off one by one in regards to their profile, what they bring to the table, and what the outlook is.
Yeah, so it started about a week and a half ago with Walter Nolan. And, we're kind of getting to the point now with the early signing period a month away that kids are going to start making decisions probably in the next couple of weeks. But started with Walter Nolan, and he announced his commitment on the Saturday right before the A&M Auburn game. Huge player, huge piece. A&M. He is rated as the top defensive lineman in the 2022 class, and he is the number 2 player in the country overall. So that was obviously a huge boost for A&M. He's an athletic run stop and defensive tackle that can move all over the line. Our recruiting director Steve Wiltfong actually went out and saw him a couple weeks ago, and they put him at running back a little bit. They put him out wide and put him at receiver. They said, he's athletic enough they could probably stick him at linebacker or safety, and he'd probably be just fine too. So that gives an idea of his athleticism. And then they add a huge piece in Chris Marshall, another top 100 prospect, and we're actually up with Le'Veon Moss, who decided this week up to 8 top 100 prospects, and in on a ton of other. But Chris Marshall was a big piece as well. He's a guy that's still relatively new to football. He grew up playing basketball. He's a really good basketball player. Has talked about playing both sports when he gets to A&M, but his athleticism is tremendous, and he's just getting better and better. He's coming off a big year. His season did come to an end this past weekend. Fort Bend Marshall was upset in the first round of the playoffs, which was kind of a surprise. But now he'll turn his attention to A&M, and A&M beat out some other big time programs. USC was interested, Alabama was interested, Arizona State was interested. So those were a couple of schools, and then this past week, Le'Veon Moss, who very much keeps things close to the vest in terms of his recruitment, doesn't do a ton of interviews, but A&M was really a school that did a great job making him feel comfortable. That was a big thing that his high school coaches really talked about was, A&M kind of sold him as a money opportunity to be comfortable, to go there, to excel both on and off the field. He was a one-time Alabama commit, but still took a tough couple of visits to A&M this past summer. Came for an official visit, came back for their recruiting barbecue, and it wasn't a necessity that A&M take a running back in this class, but they zoned in on a couple key guys like Le'Veon Moss, and he was pretty much their top target on the board. And really locked in on him as the guy they wanted if they were going to take a running back in this class. And it sets them up really well in the future with, LJ Johnson back and Devon Achane and now Le'Veon Moss, and they're in on a couple top running backs in the next class as well. It kind of, with that's going to be a big position to replace next year. There's going to be some big shoes to fill with Isaiah Spiller leaving, likely leaving for the NFL draft, and just filling in that second running back spot, having a guy like Le'Veon Moss along with LJ Johnson kind of sets up that room really well in the future.